Good afternoon again, everybody. Good afternoon, Todd. We just got off a live stream, but given the tornado warning that has just been issued and plenty of other areas to talk about with flash flooding and severe warnings, just wanted to pop back on here and start looking over the latest.
Yeah, the flooding is obviously ongoing across the eastern portion of the state. We've had some thunderstorm warnings. Now, for the first time today, we have this tornado warning that is in the southwestern portion of the state. And it's a confirmed tornado on the ground. That means eyes have been on it. It's near Bruceville and Bicknell there as you work your way just north of the Vincennes area. And there's also severe thunderstorm warning out on that as well that extends beyond where the current tornado warning is. And right there where John is circling in the blue there, that's where it's showing some indications of rotation and the likelihood of that confirmed tornado on the ground. So Bruceville, or just north of Bruceville, that's where the rotation currently is, and it's going to be making its way off towards the south and southeast or east-southeast as you work your way over the next few minutes towards Bicknell. So if you're anywhere in this area, certainly need to be taking those precautions against your safe place, John.
Yep, and it looks like Jake just expanded a BAM tornado warning more towards Wheatland and just to the northeast of Monroe City. Based on the latest velocity, the good news is I'm not seeing as tight of rotation, but regardless, this is a confirmed tornado warning. Continue to remain sheltered in place as we track this. I am going to go ahead and get a timer on out for this cell. I'm going to time out the leading edge of where we also can see some severe thunderstorm gusts with this as well, in addition to continued areas of strong rotation. And as I'm doing that now as well, I'm going to see some questions coming in. Guys, this is over southwestern Indiana where we're going to start our focus. Given the active tornado warning, we will start looking more across central Indiana again as we get a little bit further on into the stream.
Yeah, so obviously there's going to be a lot of questions here going forward with all the active weather the past 2 days, and as John said, we'll kind of get to that on the back end of that here, because our immediate concern was this report of a confirmed tornado on the ground. A lot of questions coming in. Is this going to hit Martinsville, Delaware County? This is in southwestern portions of the state. So we're talking between Sullivan and Princeton and Evansville here. That's where the tornado warning is in place. We don't have any other active tornado warnings anywhere across the state.
I would say at this point, Todd, based on the timing, and I'll read out a few city names, this blue dashed line, and I will highlight it to make it a little bit easier to see. If you are southwest of this blue dashed line, this is where I'm favoring the rotation to end up going, right along it or to the south. Obviously, that confirmed tornado warning is by Bruceville and Bicknell, but based on how I'm seeing this storm evolve, Todd, let me know if you disagree, because these can be a little, when you're dealing with the boundary, it can be difficult to see where they're going. I think the worst of the rotation risks are going to stay just to the south of that blue dashed line.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent assessment, John, based upon where that rotation was north of Bruceville, and it kind of looks like now it's moving a little bit southeast of Bruceville. So this would bring it towards Washington there as we get towards 3:31 Eastern time. So that's in about 11 minutes or so. So Washington, Indiana, and even down towards Montgomery, Indiana. If you are in those areas, certainly need to seek shelter at this point.
Guys, go ahead and share this with friends and family if you have in southwestern Indiana. Let them know. I will zoom out so that we can get a little bit more of where this particular storm is heading. Now, the timing graphic is only focused right now on the short term for the severe damaging wind gust, the leading edge of that, and the rotation. Todd, based on the path and trajectory of this current storm, I do see it moving more. I'll make that a little bit bigger that we can see more to the southeast. Jasper, Paoli, Huntingburg. Todd, you're muted, by the way.
There we go. I kept getting in trouble last time with the echo, so I keep hitting the mute. But there's only two of us
I think we should be good. Yeah,
this time, so we should be good. So I'll have to stop hitting that mute. Um, yeah, John's running the ship as far as the graphics you're seeing on the live, and then as he's doing that, I'm pulling up other information here. And that rotation quickly formed. It looks like here just north of Bruceville,
yeah.
and then it looks like it almost really kind of dropped south through Bruceville, and we have that BAM tornado warning that was extended down towards the Wheatland area. So that's really the direction that it looks like it's going more now. John, as far as the potential there for a tornado. So down towards Wheatland, let me zoom in here and see if we can get any more towns to pop in. This would put it outside of Washington for the tornado threat, but Washington's still under a severe thunderstorm warning. But is that kind of what you're seeing as well? Kind of Bruceville down towards the Wheatland area?
Yes, I would say so. It's the rotation that I'm seeing now is weak and broad, if you will. But given
Yeah.
the history of this cell and just looking at it as it's where that outflow boundary is and it's pushing to the southeast, I definitely think the BAM tornado warning for sure warranted, just to give folks some heads up that are out on the path of this. I mentioned this earlier in the live stream. I would say overall, I don't think the tornado risk is particularly strong today. I think it's very low end. But
Yeah.
obviously, these brief spin ups, when you're dealing with a boundary like this and it's pushing to the southeast, something to monitor. There's the new severe thunderstorm warning that just got issued for a large portions of southwestern Indiana. That's going to include Knox County, Davies County until 4 Eastern. And to read off a few cities, Decker, Vincennes, Monroe City, Washington, Montgomery, Plainville, Edwardsport. And this storm as a whole has just I'm going to put the lightning up. I turned it off, Todd, because the issue having the wrong thing. Issue we were having is that you can't see the cities. There's so much lightning, so it automatically defaults it off.
Yeah, no, that happens so often. The lightning becomes so vivid, and the lightning strikes so numerous. Sometimes you can't see, the velocity or the radar reflectivity, and so So you just know that there is a lot of lightning there. That we may be toggling it off a little bit here, just to be able to kind of see what's happening. With the rotation and the winds within this storm.
I would say as well, given this, and you can see this boundary, this is what's responsible for creating, I believe, that probably a brief tornado that ended up touching down there, Todd. This is moving to the southwest, and we're also seeing additional development as well of thunderstorms that will continue to push off to the southeast as well. Did I see that there was a new severe thunderstorm watch, Todd, that was just issued? Southern.
Let me see. I had to turn the watches off because there were so many warnings. So the watch, it takes it all the way down through the Ohio River into northern Kentucky. So basically all of southern Indiana is now under the thunderstorm watch. Not the far southeastern portion of the state, but most of southern Indiana, all the way into Kentucky under a watch. And it depends where you are. The first one expires in 2 hours. The other one goes until expires in 6 hours. So it goes all the way to 9 o'clock.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Yeah, Evansville, Louisville, Frankfort. Craig's telling me also, given where the boundary is, he extended a BAM severe thunderstorm watch a little bit to the southwest as we continue to watch these cells. So that is the exact purpose, guys, of a severe thunderstorm watch. We're watching the storms develop. We're watching trends. If threats become imminent, that's where we pull the trigger on those warnings. So all a watch means, I think it's always good, Todd, to review this with folks, is to be more aware than what you normally are, that there could be some impactful severe weather that will affect you later on as we get into the afternoon and into the evening.
Yeah, and he also has a severe BAM thunderstorm warning. If you go a little further towards Columbus into southeastern Indiana, Jacob has warned that storm as well with a BAM thunderstorm warning.
I see that as well, and that I believe is for that expires in 20 minutes for 60-mile-per-hour winds. I will put our local radar back on.
Yeah, when we were talking about this throughout the course of the morning. I know not everybody joining us here live, as we are here at 3:25 in the afternoon, has been with us throughout the morning and the early afternoon. We were kind of talking about this, how southern portion of the area that did not see all the flooding and flash flooding throughout the overnight hours and this morning would have a little better potential of these storms with some strong winds and maybe an isolated tornado. We do have that tornado warning still in the southwestern portion of the state, but this is definitely kind of where the stronger winds are now with this round of storms. I mean, this is what, 3 days in a row we've been dealing with Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, thunderstorms moving through. Tomorrow likely we'll have some additional ones, as it's kind of just the pattern we're in where we're bringing these clusters through. But definitely southern Indiana now is where we're concerned about the winds. Obviously, still in northern and eastern locations, John, we have concern about the flooding, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. That's ongoing coming up here in just a few minutes.
Yeah, and we're at that point, Todd, where we're in between the Indianapolis radar and the Louisville radar. While you were chatting, I was trying to figure out which one I liked better. I think this one shows the leading edge of that potential for gusts, and that other warning just expired further to the northeast. South of North Vernon, Versailles, Seymour. I will go ahead and time out this part of the line for folks into southeastern Indiana, more towards Madison. Let me see what timing the team was getting. And then one other note to pass on, Todd, as well. Obviously, we'll get more into the flooding here in a bit, but Wayne County is prohibiting travel until noon tomorrow.
Okay.
That's the top level of your travel warning, your flash flood emergency, all of that being applied. And I was aware that there was some road closures. Those seem to continuing to increase with this activity as well.
Yeah, and I think you're going to continue to see that because even in those areas where we've had the rain over and over, there's still more rain out there on radar in those locations. I did see that the National Weather Service did drop the tornado warning. It looks like
Okay.
there in southwest Indiana. Jacob still has the BAM warning out, which is I think good because obviously there was some rotation in there, but it's a lot more broad now than it was definitive, like it was just north of Bruceville, where we likely had that tornado touchdown. But it looks like it's kind of consolidating into more of a wind threat there in southwest Indiana.
I agree. Yeah, and you can just kind of tell between Wheatland and Monroe City, there's a little bit of
a little bit there, yeah.
Rotation. But I think given where we're at on radar, it's worth keeping that warning active
Sure.
for a little bit longer. I am going to go ahead and go with the 40 mile per hour timing. I'm not seeing any different information coming from the team for the ETA of the cell that is, or the line rather, that is in southeastern Indiana. So I'm going to time that out real quick, and then we'll take another look at the tornado warned storm a little bit further to the southwestern Indiana, give folks an update. Todd, I'm looking at this. You can almost, and if I switch over to velocity, see that boundary or line that's stretching all the way from Bedford. That's kind of what's driving this activity to the southeast.
Yeah, absolutely. And so anywhere south and southeast of that line, you're likely going to get some really strong winds, whether it's warned or not. As you approaches the Ohio River there from Madison to Vevey and over into Switzerland County, you can expect some really heavy rainfall and some strong winds here over the course of the next 15 to 30 minutes or so. And there's some of the times that John has put on there for the different communities.
Yeah, and I do think there is a risk, given that the band itself has tried to push more southeast in recent radar scans. This can be a little bit too quick. But I do think, especially, I feel very confident about that darker shade of blue timing, 341 for Madison, 345 for Rising Sun, stretching across that northern segment in terms of arrivals for thunderstorm activity, still noting on radar some stronger gust potential. As we get push across the Ohio River, Campbellsburg 409, Sanders 408, Glencoe 408, and Dry Ridge 421 as a result. Let's check this Evansville cell again as well.
Yeah, and so with that Evansville cell, Obviously, it's had some rotation, obviously has some wind. So if you're in Lagodi, Shoals, eventually over towards French Lick and maybe into Paoli, Mitchell area, just know a stronger storm is heading your way. So if you have friends and family that are out and about, you haven't had as much in the way of storm action throughout the day as most of the state has. So this is kind of your go round into that. So certainly, as people wrap up work and there's school events, after school events, athletics and stuff going on like that, certainly in this area, you're going to need to pay close attention. So I really would say from Bedford to Shoals, and then all the way down to, let's say, Petersburg and off to the east a little bit.
For sure. And it does look like that the BAM tornado warning, I'm not sure how far it was set out. I believe that Jake probably expired it.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the right call. We haven't really seen any additional rotation within that cell.
Absolutely. Latest timing I am getting on this particular still, he was getting around 33. I'm still getting that as well for really this entire location. Guys, I'm about to do a storm tracker on this, but I wanted to remind some of you that that storm tracking tool is available in the home premium of the BAM weather app. So when you're watching the stream or you're sampling it, you're trying to use it, figure out what time it is, that's something that you can have access to. I'm going to put the QR code in the upper right-hand corner, and we are having a sale right now for that home premium, 20% off. So make sure to take advantage of that on the BAM weather app. I didn't say clarity this time, did I? Did I get through that good?
No, you got it right. Yep.
Very good.
No more clarity.
All right. Yep. So here's how I'm going to put this in central time, and here's how the timing works. I usually prefer more of the linear method when we're dealing with a couple features to the southwest, more of an organized storm towards Washington, Locust. So I'm going to set this out for 90 minutes. I'm going to start drawing. We'll make it a color that everyone can see. I've been liking blue lately, and I'm going to get the leading edge of the storm threat as it begins to push from the northwest to the southeast. We'll take this all the way down. We'll stick with 33 miles per hour, and then we'll hit finish track, and there are your times. You also, for those of you that have the BAM weather app, can do this on your phone as well. On the streaming side of things, Todd, it's much easier to do it on the computer for sure. But if you're out and about, you're trying to figure out how fast the cell is moving, you can use this as well.
Yeah, it's a little more difficult, especially on your iPhone, to click on those little little points. I've been there myself, but a great tool to have, and yeah, it's all available in the app, and you can kind of pick out some of those locations. French Lick, obviously. A lot of people live and head in that direction. So 3:04 Central Time, so that's 4:04 Eastern Time. Mitchell, right around 3 o'clock here, or 4 o'clock Eastern Time. And then Paoli as well, 3:14 Central, so that'd be 4:14 Eastern Time.
The good news is, Todd, that I continue to not see as much rotation on this area. I still think probably the stronger portion of the storm that would be the most capable of producing damaging winds as it evolves would be this activity by Monroe City.
Yeah.
That would be the area to watch. But of course, if you're in Washington and Plainville that are under the active severe thunderstorm warning, continue to heed that warning as it pushes to the southeast.
Yeah. Why don't we quickly here, John, with people joining, since we don't have that tornado warning anymore, let's just expand out the radar and just kind of set the scene. A lot of people obviously still concerned about the flooding situation across the entire area, really, but just astronomical amounts of rain there on the eastern side of the state, especially in the Henry County, Newcastle area, Muncie, and over towards Richmond. You talked about the emergencies, the travel bans, and the advisories that are in place. And so we're getting a lot of questions about that as well. So you can see here are those the observed rainfall totals, and the dark blue and then the light blue. That's where we have 10 to 15, 16 inches of rain that has come down over the course of the past 24 hours or so, right in there that John's circling. So a a lot of emergency management. Firefighters been going door to door through that area, evacuating people from homes and businesses. And just make sure you pay attention in that area to your local authorities, and don't get out on the roadways. Let them do their job and stay safe for yourself and for your family as well. And as far as any additional rainfall, if you just go back to the current radar, John, you can see that we're finally starting to shift the axis of those bands of rain that kind of just sat over the area further off to the east. So still raining really, really hard from Richmond back towards Indianapolis. There is another band of some heavier rain there in Illinois, south of Kankakee that you see, but that should move through fairly quickly. So right now, at least for this round, because we will eventually tomorrow have another potential of a cluster of storms coming through, but at least in the immediate future, over the next couple hours, we should start to see the real heavy rain wind down a little bit in the areas that have been so impacted here over the course of the day today.
Absolutely. And just to show kind of our favorite simulated radar, this particular model, as we get towards 6 Eastern, it is struggling, I think, a little bit with Eastern Illinois, Western Indiana. I do, Todd, think there can be some additional scattered downpours, but I would say they get a little bit more isolated as we get to the early evening, as this cluster, if you will, it starts taking away some of that moisture. So there
once the storms that we're currently dealing with push off to the south and east, I think like last night there'll be some lingering downpours around and some rumbles of thunder, but we should get at least a little bit of a break from that real heavy and really widespread rain that we've been having.
Absolutely.
There's Sky Wars, babe, saying really dark in Washington, Indiana. That's that cell that was tornado warned that's going to be heading in your direction.
Yep. And just the last thing I was going to add, if there's an area that I think, Todd, that can see some of those scattered downpours and storms, we're not taking localized flash flooding potential off the table, but the areas that have been impacted the most, there is good news here that this should stay a little bit further to the south where that boundary stationary front ends up setting up later tonight.
And that's the good news. I mean, you don't want other areas to start to pick up the heavy rainfall, obviously, but for those that have been so impacted here so far today, you're finally going to eventually get a little bit of a break, and that is good news.
Absolutely. I want to take another quick look at this on radar. Guys, we're not anticipating this to be a very long stream. We just wanted to come on and talk a little bit more about not just the flooding, but also a few of these warnings, especially with that confirmed tornado warning that came on. Wanted folks to be aware of this particular storm. And I'm looking to see if the team has anything as well, any additional information coming in. Jake is watching to see if it looks like it's recycling a little bit more. I still see, Todd, some stronger velocities there, but I would say we're still not necessarily in an action stage just yet for the cell. I would expect them to, and I'll make sure I actually have my alerts pulled up. Jake, I do. Okay. I would expect some consideration here soon for at least Petersburg, maybe Alpha, for there to be an expansion of either a strong storm statement or a severe thunderstorm warning as we watch this activity roll in.
Yeah, I would say, whether another warning gets issued or, like you said, a strong thunderstorm advisory, if you live anywhere in the Mitchell, say Orleans, Paoli, French Lick, down to Jasper, Petersburg, Oakland City, this is the area that you're going to have the best potential across the entire state for some stronger storms compared to just the real heavy rainfall. So if you're in that area in blue that John just circled, it's going to get really dark, as somebody mentioned in the chat, as it is in Washington right now. And you're going to get heavy rain, a tremendous amount of lightning that John just threw on there that you see, and the potential for some really strong winds. Whether there's any rotation, there's been, as we had that warning earlier, there's maybe a quick spin up in here, but it's more wind and heavy rain and lightning than anything.
Absolutely. And I think even as well, Todd brings up a great point. The severe thunderstorm watch that was issued, just those blue areas are not the only ones that can see some potential for severe weather. You can see this new watch that was issued to include Evansville, Louisville, Elizabethtown, and Frankfurt. I'll put the national radar back on, Todd. I think folks can see that a little bit better. It's just this activity. This is more of a stronger storm that I'm circling now east of Cincinnati, north of Louisville. But these storms are where we're watching the greatest potential for some expansion of that localized strong to severe threat. So this is the area that is piquing my interest, mainly for damaging wind concerns as this pushes northwest to southeast. But this is the reason why SPC felt the need to issue a severe thunderstorm watch, given what we've seen. I don't disagree with it. Again, watch. We're just keeping an eye on trends, watching the storms as they evolve.
Yeah, and that's what a watch is, right? You have to be observant to the potential for a strong storm or a warning to be issued for your area. And that's exactly part of the state right now that has the best chance. Really, just say anywhere along the Ohio River at this point, from Cincinnati to Evansville. If you live north of the Ohio River in Indiana, if you're watching us from northern Kentucky, this is all kind of dropping down closer to the Ohio River here over the next hour or so, and that's where you'll have the best potential for some stronger winds.
Yep, absolutely. Todd, I want to spend a couple more minutes just keeping an eye on this cell that's now between Washington and Petersburg, but at least as a last wrap up, then there's
a new warning. Yep.
That just got issued down there. Let's take a look at that new tornado warning north of Petersburg, southeast of Monroe City. That's going to include south central Knox County until 4:30 p.m. Eastern. And then a new BAM severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for Petersburg. And that includes the potential for damaging wind gusts of 60 miles per hour and dime-sized hail.
So yeah, and you notice how from the National Weather Service, that tornado warning, it's a pretty small area, right? So I think what we've been talking about and exactly what they're doing, instead of expanding it out for a long duration or a long distance, they realize that there's some embedded rotation here, right? And John has it circled right there on the map that you're seeing. So there's some embedded rotation, but it's usually not long-lived. And that's why that tornado warning size, as far as their polygon that they drew there, is pretty small in nature, which is always good, right? Obviously, you don't want a tornado to be on the ground at all. But if it is, you just want it to be a brief spin up. And that's kind of what we have for the most part, I think, along the line here throughout the course of the day today and in southern Indiana, like we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and time that out with the same timing. I would say, based on where this boundary is and how it's moving, it's going a little bit more to the southeast. I'd be interested to know what you think, Todd. I would say, especially if you're in the Petersburg, Indiana area,
100%.
While you are not under an active tornado warning, you're under a BAM severe thunderstorm warning. I would go ahead and start seeking shelter now, just given the trajectory of where the storm is coming from and how it's heading towards you.
Yeah, and looking at that, I wouldn't be surprised if that tornado warning gets extended down towards Petersburg. So certainly the Petersburg area, I think at this point right now, is probably the best potential for some rotation and the potential for a tornado compared to, I think, the northern part of that tornado warning. You're through it already. It's really the southern portion there down towards Petersburg if it gets extended.
Let me redraw this so that it reflects the most latest radar update. You can see that storm already trying to expand. There's the BAM tornado warning that has just been issued now to include Petersburg. Great job, Jake. I think that's a very good call given what we are looking at. Regardless, I'm going to try to make this a little bit more of an extended timer, just given these cells are starting to intensify and push this more to the southeast. We'll go with 34 for now. And to get some more exact, Petersburg, this is in Central Time. This is 2 minutes away where the start of that storm line is, and you can see the area of rotation is about to exit the ongoing National Weather Service tornado warning and get more into the BAM tornado warning. So again, I think that's a great
And you can see how it's kind of dropping south with the BAM warning there and the dashed red line. So certainly Petersburg, you need to be in your safe place right now and seek shelter, because there is definitely strong winds heading your way with the potential for some rotation as well.
Yep, and where that rotation is, I believe this is State Road 61. So it's kind of along that path, which does go through Petersburg, Indiana. Kept these times in central, most of the locations in central in this area. This particular line of storms that's not only capable of these brief areas of rotation, brief tornadoes, but also damaging wind gusts and small hail. Jasper, Indiana, 317 central. As we get towards Holland, 340 central, Linville, 340 central, Fort Branch, 323 central, Princeton, Indiana, 304 central, and Mount Carmel. I'll switch over so you can animate this so you can see that line that's developing and starting to push more towards the southeast. In the long term, Boonville, Santa Claus, Indiana, Leavenworth, Marengo, Paoli, Salem, French Lick. You guys need to be watching this entire line as well that's pushing from the northwest to southeast.
Yeah, just home for Paoli, how fast it's moving. So,
yep,
about 35 miles per hour is where it's moving. So, yeah, as Jasper, about 317 Central Time. So before 17 Eastern Time here going forward. There's Paoli. John's drawing that for you right there. So French Lick into the Paoli area. We're looking about just past the top of the hour here, a little bit after that.
Yep, and that part of the storm is not necessarily under a severe thunderstorm warning, but given the things that we're seeing, I would still prepare for some stronger gusts. I think it's very practical in this case, Todd, to just be ready for that as it pushes more to the east, southeast.
Yeah, preparation's always key, right? Not only with storms, but anything you do really need to prepare for. So in this case, it is for some active weather. So it's going to be some heavy rain, a lot of lightning, and some wind heading your way, whether it's warned or not. But that area obviously is going to be impacted here over the next 15 to 30 minutes or so. There's no doubt about it.
I saw a comment from Shelly saying we're glitching. Shelly, it's my understanding that YouTube is having some issues with the streaming because we've not heard anything else from any other sources. So sorry to hear that. Right now, I believe it's more of a YouTube issue than us. Something.
Yeah. And Facebook, it seems like has been working. I haven't had any people telling us that watching via Facebook. So yeah, yes. I think it's definitely a YouTube thing.
For sure. Yeah, I'd have friends and family. My phone would be blowing up over here if something was going on Facebook. That's the nice part about the Facebook stream. We'll see if anything else is going on. So right now, just to review, if you're joining our stream, we are currently tracking storms in southwestern Indiana that are moving southeast into an area where we have severe thunderstorm watches in place and where we are favoring storm potential to continue to increase as this line organizes. For those of you in the eastern half of Indiana, and I'm going to include Bloomington, Indianapolis, Lebanon, Fishers, Noblesville, a variety of flash flood warnings. The further east you go, the more considerable and/or flash flood emergencies that are in effect. The further west, still watching some of those downstream warnings, Todd, as all of this rainfall begins to start to push further to the south as well. So it's. We've said this 6, 7, 8 times now, but I cannot remember a scenario where I've seen these observed rainfall totals starting to break the scale.
Yeah, I think we're going to have, it depends, right, if there's an official reading in one of these areas, but it might be state record for rainfall in a 24-hour period in one or two of these locations on the eastern side of the state. So, this is a 1,000-year event, if not more, for the locations that have seen up to 15 inches of rainfall in the last 24 hours. It just depends if there's an official gauge there or not that they record it from. But the pictures and the videos have just been unbelievable and unbelievably sad to see that happening across parts of our state for our fellow Hoosiers.
Absolutely. New severe thunderstorm warning just issued for Cincinnati, Florist, and Milford for 60-mile-per-hour winds. This storm we've been tracking as well has had continual indications of some stronger gusts. I will switch over to that radar. We can take a look. Our plan right now, guys, is we're going to continue to watch the severe weather in southern Indiana, especially I want to keep most of our focus on that tornado warned storm. So I'm going to go back to that shortly, and then we'll reassess where we're at once that lifts or as that severe potential dies down. I would say, looking at, and I haven't looked at the terminal radar yet, Todd, closer to Cincinnati, but just a continued preemptive risk of some gusts of 50 to locally 60 miles per hour with this line for the greater Cincinnati area.
Yeah, I would say probably right around 60. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's where it seems like most of the winds have been here throughout the day today,
absolutely.
either just sub severe or maybe just over
Mhm.
that 58 mph severe criteria.
Yep. Let's see. Hope just sent an image. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to. When we get that image rotated, I'll put that here on the stream. Todd, you can take a look at this. I want to go back to our Evansville radar, track this tornado warned storm. Guys, take a screenshot of these times if you have folks in the path of this. I know we've been over the timing a few different times. Share this with a friend. We're talking, our main concerns right now for severe, and this tornado warned storm is in southwestern Indiana. I'm going to go ahead just to, actually, you know what we'll do? I'll go back over to a different radar. We'll go back down to Evansville. New severe thunderstorm warning. That's what I was trying to get to with the timing. Let's take a quick look at the rotation. The good news, I would say at this point, Todd, is that the rotation does look like as it's crossed over into Petersburg is weaker. So as
Yeah.
you alluded to, they're brief. It can last 5-7 minutes, whether it's a brief tornado or a brief area of strong rotation, and then they just kind of fizzle.
Yep, that's exactly what happened with that one just north of there up in Bruceville. Yeah,
Yep.
confirmed tornado on the ground. Had really good signature on the velocity, and basically it collapsed as it moved south, and it looks like that one's doing the same thing as it
Mhm.
heads into Petersburg. So while the tornado warning, right, got dropped, look, you have a new thunderstorm warning now for Petersburg all the way down to Winslow. So that doesn't mean wind isn't an issue for you any longer. It's just kind of saying that the rotation isn't there. So that's a new severe thunderstorm warning that's going to take you from Petersburg down into Winslow here as you work your way over the course of. I don't have my readers on. I'm getting old, John, on that screen. You're gonna have to read it for me, but it's gonna be over the next 30 minutes or so.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. So it's moving southeast towards Winslow, and this is saying southeast 25. We were getting closer to 30-ish, 60-mile-per-hour quarter-sized hail. And I swore I saw the tornado possible tag. It doesn't. Yeah, tornado detection possible. Just need to, given the history of this, need to keep an eye on it as
Yeah.
it's pushing to the
Yeah,
south.
that doesn't hurt, right?
Yep.
There was some rotation at some point in there. So and again on the leading edge, there could be a quick spin up there.
I want to show one picture and see what you think, Todd. It's hard to tell with these, especially when you're in daylight hours. You've got an opening where it's not raining, which is how you can visually see it. This is from, I believe, Hope said, Kaylee Smith, and I personally can't make much out of it except there's a little bit of a drop right there. It kind of
Yeah.
looks like it. You can see it.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell if it's not a video or in
Yeah.
motion.
Yep.
Um, because you can get some really, really heavy rain and it's going to make it look like that as well. So, I mean, I wouldn't say no,
Yeah. Sure.
but without it in motion, it's really hard to give any real definite proof of confirmation there. But I mean, definitely, the dark clouds. And thank you, by the way, if you're watching this live stream, for sending those
Yes.
pictures in. And we're always looking for pictures and videos. If you can do it safely, that's the key there. You have to be able
Yes.
to do it safely to send in to us, and then we can share them with everybody as well. And if we can visually see it like that, if it had been a video and we could see some rotation, we could have potentially tried to help confirm that. But a great picture, though, either way.
Absolutely. And I always like to tell folks, you know what, if it looks like it's coming right at you, don't worry about the perfect video. Just go inside.
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
that's the
Yeah,
other thing.
your safety is
Yep.
number one.
Yes,
There'll
absolutely.
be other videos out there, but you need to be safe yourself for you and your family.
Yep. Jake did extend. I wanted to focus. It looks like the tornado warnings, the BAM tornado warning and the National Weather Service tornado warning has been allowed to expire for Petersburg areas to the north. I think that's the right call, given what we've seen. We'll have to see if it can try to wrap up again. This really appears to be if I had to choose one, your bigger cell that keeps getting some inflow into it. So that'll be the one to watch further downstream. But this new severe thunderstorm warning for Princeton, Mount Carmel, Johnson, Keansburg, that's going to remain in effect in an hour. That'd be right around, I believe, am I doing my math right? So 4:40 Central. Sorry, 3:40 Central. It's
3:40 Central,
Yep.
4:40 Eastern.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that this is going to be kind of a common theme, right, through southern Indiana and then into northern Kentucky throughout the evening. These are all areas that didn't see nearly as much rainfall throughout the course of the day today, so they have a little better instability, some better dynamics for these thunderstorms to continue to develop and get stronger. And so you're going to have wind, and I wouldn't be shocked here, honestly, John, if not that we'll be on the live stream probably that long, but throughout the course of the next hour or two, as you get more warnings through Jasper, Santa Claus, all the way down to the Ohio River, and then into northern Kentucky, really just along that southern flank of the storms here. The rest of it, really, from Bedford to Seymour and points to the north, it's just general rainfall and some lightning at this point.
I'm trying to see here, Todd. Hope's got a video. I'm trying to make sure I have permission to show it of potential tornado. Before I show that, though, I do want to go ahead and give some updated timing information on this particular cell. I did see the main line slow a little bit, about 25, 26 miles per hour in our westward extent. Obviously, your more mature cell to the east can move a little bit faster to the southeast. So you know what? Before I time this out, I will go ahead and show this. This is from Twitter. Dylan C. Got this from Knox County, which is right where that tornado warning was. Show that video.
All right, yeah. I would say so.
Yep. So if that's really from that timestamp we have, that would definitely 100% be it. That obviously needs to be, verified by the proper channels, but that's what's coming into us.
Yeah. I think that's pretty good chance of a tornado on the ground. It was probably on there briefly, quick little spin up. And that could be what likely prompted those tornado warnings, to be honest.
Absolutely. We're going to start over, Todd, on our storm tracks, just to keep things a little bit more organized. This first one I'll do a little bit more slower. We'll put this into Central Time. I am including some storms, everybody, that are not necessarily under warnings, but as you notice, the warnings continue to expand a little bit more to the west each time as the storms intensify. I'm going to do this one first with a 20. Gosh. Feels like it's moving. What do you think? You think I should do a little bit more southeast here, Todd?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Read off some times in Central. Boonville 423, Fort Branch 330, New Harmony 338, Johnson 318, Oakland City 317. For those of you, the storms that's coming out of Mount Carmel and then about to hit Princeton, I think your greater gust potential for 60 that we're watching is going to be just to the east of this blue line. I'll actually highlight it in red so we can see it a little bit more clearly. Based on the current radar. For those of you that are to the west, we need to watch for some of those additional storms to pick up more intensity. But right now, what's coming out of this area has the greater potential for those damaging wind gusts of 60 and very brief tornadoes. I think that can continue to be a factor given what we've seen. So make sure to share this with a friend, share this stream. We're going to continue to maintain as we watch this rotation that's been off and on near Petersburg and into Knox County for a bit. And we'll reassess as this turns into more of a traditional 50 to 60 type event. I do want to do a timer here, Todd, that's a little bit faster for the cell up by Petersburg. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a different tab for it. You can just kind of see on reflectivity, how it's kind of spinning right on the southern edge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So nothing prominent on velocity, but you can tell it's still turning.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked that at some point, it might not be in the next 15 minutes or so. But I mean, I wouldn't be shocked at some point as that line makes its way further south towards the Ohio River. There's another brief tornado warning that gets put out on it.
Yep, I agree. I will retime this. Jake, if you're watching, let me know if you're getting some different timing. I've been sticking with 33. It's been a little bit faster. I think it's done overall well, but let's see what we got. Well, it sounds like it stopped raining outside here, Todd. No dripping on your ceiling either.
Well, now I hear a little dripping in the ceiling, but that might be residual coming down.
Okay.
So. We shall see.
Yeah. Closer to getting a little bit closer to 30 now, so we'll go with that on the southeastern edge.
Yeah, and while John lines all that up, I'm just looking here, and the severe thunderstorm watch that was in place for the Indy metro area and points to the north and west towards Terre Haute, that's been dropped. So the primary severe threat now is going to be from that line that we've been showing you south towards the Ohio River. So if you're north of this line that we've been showing you, and you kind of been asking us about your communities on the side here in the chat feature, you're probably done with the severe threat here throughout the rest of the evening. So that's the good news. Some of you, though, will continue to deal with lightning and some really heavy rainfall, so just be aware of that. But the severe threat is primarily now in far southern portions of Indiana and then down into Kentucky as we go forward here over the course of the evening hours.
Absolutely. And, I can pan out here when we get done talking about the cell, Todd, and draw out just kind of a map of, we call it we used to call it the sleep line, early summer and late spring, when you can go to bed, when you don't have to worry about severe weather anymore. Sometimes that helps. Becky, I saw your comment. So right now we're talking about southwestern Indiana. So near Jasper, Princeton, Evansville. So when we're zooming that close, it's because we're trying to give folks that are in directly the path of the storm that are of greater concern to see that rotation or potential tornado. So sometimes the rule of thumb is that if we're not talking about your area for a few minutes, that usually means that you're in good shape and imminent concerns. So
whenever you're doing a live stream where you're talking about the areas the most, that's the most impacted, and that's why we do that. And so like John said, that's a great way to put it, John. I'm so glad you said that. If we're not talking about you, it's usually a good thing.
I'm looking at this on reflectivity. I am increasing my confidence here. And Jake, this is something to watch. I think this is trying to wrap back around again.
It sure looks like it on reflectivity there.
I mean, that
just
is
north of Winslow.
Yep, that is a very strong signal that we're looking at. And on velocity, you can see it as well. It's not quite a couplet yet, but you can just tell where those wind differences are. And Todd, this might be a good opportunity to maybe explain folks before I go through the timer. What's the difference between the red and green?
Oh, yeah. So the red and green, when you look at a velocity, it's the winds going to and from the radar. And so when meteorologists look at this, what we're essentially looking for is where you see the red and green very closely together and kind of wrapping around a little bit. So where you see all that red that's out there to the east, that's not a concern for us. If it's all green, it's not a concern for us as much. But right where John's moving moving into where he drew those storm tracks right there, you notice how there's some red and green, and then especially once you put it into motion, you can kind of see how it spins a little bit. So essentially these are winds going to and from the radar site, and there is the new BAM tornado warning that we have just put out there for that little couplet and cell that we've been talking about.
Yep. So if you're in Winslow, Indiana, the area of rotation going to be approaching you in the next 3 to 6 minutes. You need to seek shelter immediately as this storm begins to push over your area. I would expect to see a little bit more of a couplet. We'll see as that starts to track more to the south. It's been a little bit erratic, Todd, as it's been pushing to the southeast. So I still want those of you that are in Holland, Huntingtonburg, Ferdinand-Dale, Gentry, can't remember.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure.
Yep. And then Santa Claus, Indiana, those locations downstream of this particular severe thunderstorm need to be keeping a close eye on this in the short term. Todd, I appreciate you explaining that to me. The reason I ask you is because I remember watching you when I was in high school go through and explaining that a few times.
Don't date me here. Don't date me.
I wanted to be like I get to hear it real time now. So love it.
Yeah, a lot of times, if, for those of you in the home premium, you can change between the reflectivity and the velocity yourself. So if
Yep.
you choose to do that,
Yep.
a lot of times, if you're just looking at the static image, you don't see that. But hit the little play button down there and kind of just roll your finger on the scroll bar down there
Yep.
and see it in motion, and that can always kind of help you out a little bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, we can take it all the way back up to Petersburg, guys. This is when it was northwest of Petersburg that prompted a tornado warning in these locations. And notice how it started wrapping
Yeah,
around,
right there.
then poof, then it goes over.
And then you can kind of see how it collapses. That little circular red area disappears and it becomes more green again. So,
yep. I'm going to delete this track for a second. Yeah, we're a little bit, latest scan, a little bit tighter there. But yeah, Winslow, Indiana, you need to be seeking shelter now as this pushes into the southeast.
Somebody said, why am I getting an alert in Tipton? I'm not sure why you're getting an alert up in Tipton. There's nothing going on right now. I guess it would be maybe a residual flash flood warning, or they might have changed the timing of the flood warnings up there. But there's no active storm in the Tipton area.
Yep. No, these are just flash flood.
They probably just redid the timing on certain things up there at the National Weather Service, and that's probably why many of you might have been getting alerts. But there's no severe threat as far as any thunderstorm or tornado.
Yeah, I think, Todd, what it is because it's the hazard, life-threatening flash flooding, the tag, the considerable tag. I think that's alerting people's phones. It's a critical alert. So I think that's what, as they continue to update the flash flood warnings, I would assume that's why
and that's why many of you, as we work our way throughout the evening hours, for most of you here in central Indiana, if you do get additional alerts, it's going to be on the flooding side of things, because this should be kind of the last hurrah in southern Indiana of the severe threat.
Yep.
As this line is really now along the Ohio River from Cincinnati down to the Madison area, and then it'll eventually get there as well as you work your way towards the Evansville area, Tell City, Santa Claus. You'll be getting into some of these stronger storms as well.
Wanting to show velocity again, looking more impressive every scan, I would say, in terms of
I wouldn't be shocked if the Weather Service at this point throws a warning out on that coming up here shortly, but we'll see.
Yep, and we'll have to watch as this tracks.
Especially right there north of Winslow, the last few little frames, you can kind of see right in there. There's a little notch going back towards the left there on reflectivity, and then you can kind of see it on the velocity as well. So, would not be shocked if a warning comes out there.
Yep, and I think meteorologist Jacob Wagner or Craig Tillison or whichever one of our Mets did this warning. A great call on anticipating that preemptively. We'll need to watch to see if the warning needs to come a little bit further to the east, but right now it just seems to be going directly, almost due south there in that last southeast.
So and that's been the theme, right? With the other two tornado warnings that we had out there, the warning came out, and then they kind of just dropped south more than going off towards the southeast. So,
no, absolutely. Other questions here, real quick, guys, as we're watching this tornado warning, I want to go ahead and jump back. And if somebody doesn't, Todd, let me know if they issue that NWS tornado warning.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on things.
Sometimes it flashes on the screen. Got a lot of screens up. That's the occupational hazard of being a meteorologist. You can only got two eyes, right?
And two eyes, and then all the screens have so many different colors. You're trying to, you try to make out the different colors. I know when I post up on Facebook, I always try to, either whether it's the lightnings or certain watches warnings, toggle it off, because it can get a little confusing. I totally understand.
No, for sure. I wanted to draw a line that emphasized what we're looking at currently. If you are in Indiana, specifically Western Ohio, and I probably could have put this line a little bit further east, but if you are north of the blue line, you're in this area, your severe risks are done for the rest of the evening into the overnight. So those are done. These showers, the good news that we're tracking that are to the west of Indianapolis, they don't look like they're putting down much of anything at this point. They're starting to weaken. So from a
Yeah,
flat
they've been
standpoint,
weakening too, so yeah, not too concerned about that. Some additional rainfall certainly possible, obviously, um, but yeah, I think, like you said, John, the severe threat is, and I always love drawing that line, just like you did,
yeah,
and showing people, hey, north of this line, you're good with the severe threat. South of the line, still ongoing.
yep, absolutely. I don't know why I got rid of it that one time. I'll draw it again just so folks can see it.
Steven,
I have not,
no
yeah,
correlation coefficient yet. Haven't needed it yet,
no,
thankfully. So
no,
that's good.
yep, no, for sure. But yeah, if you're northeast of this line, you are good to go. Southern Indiana, following this wave of strong to severe thunderstorms, there can be additional pop-ups as we get into the overnight period, 6 a.m. Eastern. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But just wanted to answer a few of those questions for the future. Let's go take a look at this cell again. Boy, I am waiting for the NWS tornado warning.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm really surprised looking at that
Yeah.
velocity scan as well.
Yep. If you're in Winslow, Indiana, further southeast downstream, I'm going to do another timer here shortly. Let me see if I don't know if that's it. That doesn't look like it. I think I would say right now, velocity is probably our best tool to be looking at this very tight couplet working over Winslow, Indiana right now that is pushing to the south. And we have an active BAM tornado warning. The reason we issued that is because we saw this potential of another tightening. This would be the third time the cell tries to produce or successfully produces rather a tornado or a brief spin up. So definitely wanting to keep a very close eye on that as it's pushing to the south. Jake, do me a favor. Can you time the couplet for me? Just the couplet, and I will do a cone timer. I'm curious to know what we were getting. I was getting 26, and then I got 32. I think it's a little erratic as it's coming down. So if you can do me a favor and look into that. Last scan a little bit, still strong rotation, but not as concerning.
Yeah,
Regardless.
and that's the way they've been. These are not supercell tornadoes by any
Yep.
means. Just if you do get a tornado warning, it's likely just going to be a brief, quick spin up.
The good news with this as well. Well, obviously, we would prefer there not be a tornado warning at all, but I'm not seeing any additional areas of concern of rotation as I look further to the west right now, Todd. So I would much rather this threat, even a brief spin up threat, be more isolated than several that are pushing in. So Jake just got 30 again. And that scan looks a little bit better. It might be trying to cycle back again. So rotation's weakening, but please continue to remain in shelter. Rotation still broad, but definitely there. I would imagine we're going to have to keep a very close eye on this cell as it continues to push to the southeast. I'm going to go ahead and time out this narrow corridor once again. So I'm timing out the area of rotation is very close to the leading edge of the storm. So that's a little bit helpful for this, but the main thing I'm timing out is that broad area of rotation, general track of the most significant part of the cell. So Holland, 335 Central, Dale, 346, Santa Claus, Indiana, 356 Central. And then as we get a little bit closer to Troy, we start getting towards 415 to 420 for that cell. So it is diving for the Ohio River.
Yeah. And for those of you continuing to ask questions about the rain and the flooding and so forth, the worst of the rain finally It's kind of making its way out of central Indiana. I know it's still raining for those of you in Newcastle and Richmond, and then down towards the Greensburg area. But the heaviest of the rain is kind of shifting off into Ohio, so that's
Mhm.
good news. There is some rain back off to the west, not nearly as heavy, won't be nearly as prolonged. Obviously, flooding will be ongoing here throughout the evening into the overnight hours. But at least additional rainfall here is really diminishing throughout the remainder of the night. So that's just kind of a general overview for everybody asking about the flooding situation, and rightfully so, asking about that. But thankfully, this cluster of storms is finally moving off to the south and east for us.
Yep. And one piece of news I wanted to share, the Indiana State Fair just tweeted that due to the severe thunderstorms, flash flooding impacting the fairgrounds, the fair will be closed for the remainder of today. So everyone's being asked to leave the fairgrounds that are currently on there, and they will not be opening again until tomorrow. So this is the amount of 3-hour rainfall totals. I wanted to show this as well. And Newcastle, Richmond, that's Henry County and Wayne County, right, Todd?
Henry County, Newcastle, Wayne County, Richmond, correct.
Yeah. So that rain is over the past 3 hours, in addition to, and this is the grand total, 24-hour rainfall totals, those locations that you start getting close to 10.
Yeah.
So definitely significant situation for sure. Back to this tornado warning. Okay, the National Weather Service just issued a tornado warning.
All right.
For that cell now southeast of Winslow. This tornado warning is going to be for southeastern Pike County. They have it moving a little bit faster, 35 miles per hour, tornado and $half sized hail.
Yeah, not shocked. We talked about it when it was north of Winslow, and here comes the warning out. So not surprised on that whatsoever.
Yep, and I would say that I like that they put it a little bit further to the east, which our meteorology team did a great job getting ahead of this tornado warning. But as the circulation is not as tight, it's starting to be influenced more and pushing slightly to the east where that is. So I think it's a good call to have it a little bit closer. And if you're in Holland, Indiana, I would just go ahead and start making preparations to seek shelter. We said the same thing to Winslow about 15 minutes ago. I think given the trajectory of where this is at, I would say that would be a good call at this point, or in the surrounding areas of Holland. In fact, I will draw an area. This would be my zone that you're not under a tornado warning, Todd, but that I would just go ahead and start making plans to seek shelter. I could probably even extend that towards the I-64 corridor as well.
Yeah. I mean, what the Weather Service did, they just brought it up to the county line, and they probably did that so the sirens didn't go off yet for, another county. But yeah, I would say, like you said, John, if you're in the Holland area, definitely be on the lookout for certainly a strong storm and maybe some rotation.
For sure. So, Sarah, that's a great question. Overall rainfall total. So with the home premium package, you can have access to the observed rainfall totals. Timothy, we're obviously, the main focus is the tornado warning, guys. I'm going to keep it between scans. Todd and I can look at a few of these questions. If you're in Southport area, you're good for the rest of the evening. No additional severe weather. Any more rain in Newcastle and Hendricks County? I think the risks of that tonight are very minimal. I would say it's more tomorrow afternoon and evening that we need to watch for another round. New BAM severe thunderstorm warning just issued that now includes a little bit more expansive of this bigger cell. I'll turn on our reflectivity by Winslow now including Holland, Dale, and Huntingburg as this is pushing southeast.
Yeah, I see Stephen Hill. I've seen you post comments about thoughts about tornado on the ground and now lifted. Just wondering if you're in that area or if you're just kind of following along with us on reflectivity and velocity. If you could just leave a message for us, that'd be great.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I was going to address that as well.
Northwest Indiana is finally clear. Yeah, for for tonight, it looks like you're pretty good in Northwest Indiana, but more storms possible again tomorrow.
It does look like a severe thunderstorm warning the National Weather Service just issued slightly to the east of Jake's. That does include Jasper, where we were originally looking at some potential as well.
Yeah, everything might kind of be sliding instead of dropping more south like it was. Maybe it starts sliding a little bit more southeast, I think.
Yep.
Here as we move through southern Indiana. I saw somebody mention is Ferdinand in the clear? Absolutely not. You definitely have the potential for some very heavy rainfall incoming shortly. You just got included in that thunderstorm warning as well. So prepare yourself for heavy rain, a lot of lightning, and some wind.
I'm going to time out the leading edge of the active tornado warning storm and the severe thunderstorm warning. We'll put a little bit more to the southeast. We're just going to hold with the 30-mile-per-hour timing. That seems to be the general consensus. Holland, that's going to be 326 central for the leading edge of the storm. I think the area of rotation, that's why I wanted to address Holland specifically. I think the area of rotation that we've been tracking will be a little bit later, closer to about 335 central, 335, 340 central. So the leading edge of the storm, you're kind of right on that. The timer showing you're right on that jagged edge of where this storm is. So I'm trying to account for that. Elsewhere, Dale 345, Santa Claus, Indiana 356. And you can see the darker blue is that 30-minute. So that's going to be more of that's probably the worst color I could have chosen. 351 central. And then the lighter blue, gets you to full 60 minutes of 421 central. And we're continuing to just track this area of rotation. I would say it's still broadly rotating. That's
yeah,
but it's much weaker, which is for now, which is good.
Yeah, and and that follows the trend of what we've been seeing with these tornado warnings. They come up, they last maybe 5 to 15 minutes or so, and then the storm weakens and it becomes more of just a wind event again.
Well, I'm in Eric and Luke's office over here, and I'm hoping this perfect charger right where I need one. I thought I was going to have to break away from the stream and go get one, and realized I was at 10%. So, thank you, Eric, for leaving your charger in a place that I could grab it. So. Yeah, Steve, looking at correlation coefficient a little bit as well. I was noting this particular feature was something that I noted as well when this went to the southeast of Winslow. But we've found in the past that sometimes the velocity, it's easier for folks to understand where that better rotation can be. So that's sometimes why, as meteorologists, we'll go back and forth in our variety of products as to what we think will most convey the message. So we've got all the other radars up here on the right hand on screen.
Any comments on Bloomington, Bedford? You're pretty much done with the severe threat for the day. There's some storms south of Bedford, but moving away. Bloomington's dry right now. Maybe a little bit more rain coming in later, but severe threat's over. Really, the severe threat's just from where this line of storms is now down to the Ohio River and then eventually into Kentucky as far as Indiana is concerned. Yeah. So yeah, it's really where John has the track drawn there. That's the area that has the strongest winds coming up over the next 30 minutes or so.
Yep, for sure. And I would say that we're gonna continue to maintain the live as we watch this tornado warning. But as we start getting more with the general severe thunderstorms, we will probably break this live stream and continue to be posting on social media about this wave and the additional concerns throughout the overnight. One thing I do want to mention as well, we've been talking a lot about BAM tornado warnings and also these local radar products that we continue to use. You guys can access this as well by signing up for the BAM Weather app, which is on sale to home subscriptions, home and home premium, where you can access the storm tracker. You can scan that QR code in the upper right-hand corner. This is where you'll have access to all of our nowcasts. I want to show real quickly a nowcast that Brett put out a couple hours ago that really highlights, if I can find it, there's so many nowcasts we're doing right now. Here it is. That shows, you can see that purple shaded area, Todd. This is where we already got the word out to our clients, letting them know that there were going to be additional storms developing in this zone. And even before the storms formed, giving some approximate timings from northwest to southeast. Those have shifted a little bit, but it's really only been about by 10 or 20 minutes, Todd. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, when you're talking about weather, 10 to 20 minutes when you're predicting the future, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
especially when this was issued. So
absolutely. So scan that QR code. This is the type of, we're staffed 24/7. When we get off on this live stream, this will be the activity I'm tracking for the rest of the evening as well. So we will be here and watching.
To answer Jill, I think my leak in the office stopped. I don't hear it anymore dripping, but the rains ended here at the office too, so that probably has something to do with it.
Possible tornado. Is it possible tornado sirens go off in Union, Kentucky? If you're asking if I think that it's possible for there to be a brief tornado in Union, Kentucky, I would say, and you're going to have to help me with that one. Is that south?
Yeah, I'm looking up Union right now because I'm not familiar either.
Thought that was southeast of Louisville.
Yeah, it's basically. No, it's basically just due south of the Cincinnati airport.
Okay, so due south of Cincinnati.
Near Florence, Kentucky.
Got it. Guys, there's a union in about every state. So that's sometimes you gotta help us.
There's a Union County in Indiana too.
Yeah, there's that too. Watching this line, I've been more concerned about stronger gusts. So I would say no, I don't think there's going to be a tornadic potential. I think that the greater risk of that, and Todd, correct me if I'm wrong, is where we have a little bit more of a veering or wind shift across southwestern Indiana versus far northern Kentucky. So
yeah, I think it's more of a wind event there south of Cincinnati. I think the really only rotation threat is with the real far southern flank of this, right where we've been dealing with these. I think we're on our third tornado warning now. Throughout the last hour and change.
Absolutely. Happy to help. Let's look at velocity. That rotation is still broad. If I didn't know any better, Todd, I would just say that this is this just looks like a big old mesocyclone.
Yeah.
That's I'm not really seeing anything out ahead of it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You can kind of see some storms flaring up south of there too, and so eventually they're probably going to combine.
Yep. This is really the only, and Jake, as Jake mentioned it, as I was looking, this would be really the area on the eastern edge of the tornado warning that's starting to get a little bit closer to Holland that we've been talking about would be something. But yeah, as we start seeing cells develop out ahead of this main line, that sometimes can the inflow will be impeded, and it can affect any type of rotation. I don't know if I've explained that in the most clear terms, but usually it can help limit what we're seeing now with the continual cycling of the tornado and rotation. So.
Busy day.
Busy day. Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't we just kind of rehash? Just give this big overview here, John, with the radar, and before I think we can sign off here
I agree.
in a little bit and just kind of update on socials if some of those additional warnings
Mhm.
get issued. But for everybody, in case you're just joining us, here's the big picture. It's been a very active day of weather. It's second day in a row of active weather, but specifically for today, it's been all about the flooding and catastrophic flooding on the eastern side of the state. Thankfully, a lot of that rain's moving out. For those of you in Newcastle, Richmond, it's still raining, obviously, but you can see the back edge of the rain finally making its way through eastern portions of Indiana. So Muncie and Indy's dry. There are some additional showers west of Indy. That's John circling right now. And so we're not saying you might not get another little batch of rain or a shower or something coming through. But you're pretty much done with all the real heavy flooding rains. But obviously, it's going to be a concern, and we're going to have lots of damage and flooding that's going to be ongoing into the coming days. But at least for right now, the bulk of the heavier rainfall is moving into Ohio for everybody viewing from Indiana. The far southern portion of the state, basically with that line of storms that's now just north of Evansville. Still the threat of severe weather all the way down to the Ohio River, and then that'll continue into Kentucky if you're watching us from northern Kentucky. But for Indiana's standpoint, with the exception of a few of those counties down along the Ohio River here, the severe threat has pretty much come to an end for this evening.
Yep. I think that's perfect, Todd.
Yep.
And one thing I will also show as well, just a really round of applause for the Met team this morning. This was our original severe risk for Wednesday, and I wasn't awake for some of the cells that went through northern Illinois or northwestern Indiana. I know that there were some gusts up there, but in terms of where you're starting to see the weakening of the severe risks as activity pushed to the east. Great job at depicting that when models were not all agreeing on much this morning. Todd, I can
Yeah.
that.
And that happens in this kind of setup.
Yep.
You're talking about clusters of storms, you're talking about timing, and sometimes the models don't all necessarily agree. And it's one of those things where you just have to kind of watch and see how things unfold, and then match it up with the best model possible.
Absolutely. We'll check this cell one more time. Still some broad rotation on it. Tornado warning continues.
That tornado warning goes for about another 10 minutes or so. But they did extend the thunderstorm warning, as you can see, further south now into the Santa Claus area, Holiday World, and so forth. So there's still obviously some wind here, and that'll be the case, I think, all the way down to the Ohio River.
I agree for sure. And guys, as Todd mentioned, on social media, we'll continue to keep tabs on these. We'll post the tornado warnings, especially as these continue to push into southeastern Indiana, provide timing. And again, BAM Weather app, you can access those nowcasts. Scan that QR code. We'll continue to track this as well. So, guys, we're going to go ahead and sign off of the live. But Todd, we just did the overview. Any other last thoughts before I shut us down?
Yeah, make sure you stay with us here if you're in southern Indiana for those warnings. And then I think you can sleep, especially for those of you in eastern locations, where the flooding's ongoing. I don't see a whole lot of additional rainfall, but make sure you stay with BAM Weather throughout the overnight, and then check in again first thing tomorrow, as we may be talking about another additional round of showers and storms. Unfortunately, this is not just the end of it, our active week of weather. There'll be the potential for some additional storms tomorrow, as this model is showing. Not sure on the exact placement, but there will be the potential again for some wind and some heavy rainfall. So make sure you check back in tomorrow.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging on with us, and we'll continue to keep you updated on social media throughout the night. Todd